I wrote a book. The book is called Romantic Idealism, the Highest Standard of Romance for a Man, which is about the masculine experience of romantic love and intimacy. I reached out to a nice lady named Svetlana to write the foreword to the book because she was a big part of the drafting and editing process. She added her feminine perspective, or kind of helped refine what I was talking about from my prototypical masculine perspective. And of course, many people have interpreted that balance is an individualized concept, meaning every person should seek balance within themselves. But a big point I make throughout the book that maybe sometimes the best way to find balance and express yourself fully is to find someone who completely complements in whatever ways you are imbalanced. Right? So if you're highly masculine, yeah, it's probably a good idea to be able to get in touch with your feminine side. But if it's not your nature to be highly feminine, why would you try to force yourself to be that way? If you're naturally more masculine, or the inverse, if you're naturally much more feminine, yes, you should definitely be in touch with your masculine side, but doesn't it make more sense for you to achieve that balance with someone who is as masculine as you are feminine, or vice versa? So here is how Svetlana decided to begin the book with the foreword. In my practice as a trauma therapist, I have noticed an interesting trend with every patient I've worked with. She's a psychotherapist. Mm-hmm. There have always been prominent relationship issues present in their personal lives. No one has ever come into my office to address other issues who didn't also have serious relationship issues. People who came to me with self-esteem and body image issues turned out to have communication problems with their partners, for instance. Some people came to me suffering from anxiety after traumatic accidents, only to eventually realize that the hardest thing they were dealing with was that their partner was not caring enough during their rehabilitation, which was more hurtful to them than the actual injuries they dealt with. It is very unfortunate that knowledge about gender differences in relationship dynamics between men and women is not widespread, because it results in a range of personal problems and disorders, or exacerbates unrelated ones. It seems to me that the majority of people nowadays are so concerned with seeing equality in everything that they have forgotten about seeing equity, which is where we all meet each other's needs and feel valued, respected, and accepted for who we are as individuals in the highest possible way. This is something we've talked about before. The concept of equality, which if you interpret too absolutely, means trying to treat everyone like they're all exactly the same, which is like a communistic idea. Right? Well, life would be a lot simpler if everyone was exactly the same, right? But they're not. And so the concept of equity is more about treating people in the way that's most appropriate to how they are, instead of expecting them to be something other than what they are. Compared to men who are more single-tasked, women have a stronger ability to switch between their right and left lobes in the brain, or even have them activated simultaneously. Consequently, they are better able to perceive and process emotion and logic, coming to conclusions quickly and calling it a gut feeling, aka women's intuition, which can feel alien to men who feel that women can be poor at rationally assessing how they decided something so quickly, or explaining their conclusions in explicit terms men will understand. I consider myself hypersensitive to this facet of feminine nature. My professional training in classical singing, particularly in the art of opera, has polished my mastery of simultaneously activating logic and emotion and elevated it into a complex system of self-awareness. My unique engagement in operatic art and psychotherapy has resulted in a highly personal journey of observing, analyzing, and understanding myself as a woman, and I have placed a high priority on assessing my feminine experience of life rationally and coherently for men and women alike. So that is something that I have said to her repeatedly throughout the process while she was helping me with this book and explaining things more from her feminine perspective, was that I was very, very impressed with how well she could articulate things about what her experience of life is like. Is not to sound too sexist, but I don't think I have ever met a woman with a feminine nature. You know, there are some more masculinely oriented women, but I don't think I've ever met a woman with a highly feminine nature who could explain well in words what she was thinking and feeling and why. And that doesn't mean that she's an idiot. It doesn't mean she's immature or any other way you might misinterpret that to sound really demeaning to women. It just means that that's like a different part of the brain, I think. Like that part of rationally assessing and explaining in strict, logically linear terms is a very masculine trait. And it doesn't mean like intelligence or something, because there are plenty of very intelligent women. Or maybe it's just that sometimes you can be so caught up in feeling something so deeply that it seems to escape logical analysis, right? It seems like it's somewhere completely in its own domain. And so for someone like her to have retained the ability to at least, try to understand it and explain what's going on in a way that an outside observer would be able to understand is almost superhuman to me. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think I've ever met a woman who could do that as well.
She comes from her education and experience.
Yes, obviously, and she acknowledges that, right? Her psychological training, and she apparently attributes a lot of it to learning, to being trained as a classical opera singer, though I don't know quite exactly how that equates. Maybe she can explain that sometime, that learning the art of opera has worked that part of her brain, or the connections between those parts of her brain. The author of this book, that's me, is a highly intellectual man, who, for as long as I have known him, has been in a state of constant self-development. I can say with a high degree of confidence that his number one goal in life is to help people understand important things in his signature style that they cannot easily learn about from any other source. It requires a huge amount of self-awareness and self-study to notice every mistake, every imperfect facet of the past, as the author has attempted to do for himself, and make a public statement and choice about how he wants to grow from it and the man he aspires to be. Though this book is written from a very personalized masculine perspective, bravely provided by Gregory V. Deal, I believe it is a huge step forward for people to learn healthy relationship dynamics, understand fundamental differences between men and women, and accept that gender dynamics are a vitally important and inseparable part of our lives that cannot be avoided. In that regard, it is similar to learning about health, finances, or the environment. We can sit in ignorance and pretend it does not personally affect us or matter much in the grand scheme, but we will pay the price for our ignorance of the principles at play in our lives. The author has undertaken a monumental task by self-analyzing and reflecting on his own experiences and comparing them with permanent fixtures in global human mythology. He has a preternatural talent for educating and expressing the complex and incomprehensible as comprehensively as possible to the public, which is pretty much what I was just saying about her ability to articulate the feminine experience, which is why I've also told her, and seemingly she has agreed to eventually write her own book explaining the feminine perspective on these things, because she seems uncommonly capable of doing that.
Cool. So she's gonna write like the...
Yeah, she's going to write the complimentary version of this book from her perspective. And maybe I will help her edit and refine that. It's like, Una Urso. This book shows that there are certain qualities that highly masculine men desperately need from highly feminine women, and vice versa. These qualities and the need for them reveal the essence of true masculinity and femininity. In the 21st century, virtually everything is available to everyone. Anyone can do almost anything on their own. A single man can have their single life happily with access to basically everything they could ever want. Likewise, a single woman can live a fully functional life without a man. That was kind of the feminist chant, like, a woman doesn't need a man. We're independent. Fuck men.
Well, we can be if we want to.
Right. So then the question becomes, if it is possible for us to live without each other, why are we still so drawn to each other? Each can even conceive and raise children without the support of the other. So why do we still crave each other? Men have always sought, and I believe always will seek, certain feminine characteristics that exist most prominently in women, and women seek certain masculine characteristics that exist most prominently in men. And it's okay to need each other. Eventually, we should need each other. If we want to reach a divine level of human connection, if we want to reach something very sacred, We have to like and love needing each other. Celebrating the differences between them is the best way that men and women can achieve harmony together. As such, this book will make women feel good about being needed by men, and the same with men being needed by women for their respective duties and responsibilities they seek to offer in a romantic partnership. And when she says that, respective duties and responsibilities, do you think she's speaking as superficially as cooking and cleaning? That's a woman's duty and responsibility to a man. Or does it mean something much deeper, intimate, emotional, and intellectual, and physical, and all these other things? Nowadays, it's often misinterpreted as a bad thing, as a great insult when you tell a woman she needs a man, or even that a man needs her. It's a very damaged mentality to be offended at the idea of needing your complementary influence or being needed to provide complementary influence to someone else. I can understand the author's lamentation that people have misinterpreted and been offended by some of the ideas contained in this book, even ones that were clearly meant as empowering and complementary. Our respective roles go much deeper than how most people interpret them in the most superficial sense, like what I was just saying about a woman's job is in the kitchen. From this book, men will learn that women are not just beautiful objects, as he calls them, as the author calls them, or innocent creatures that exist to entertain, serve, and arouse men without volition of their own. Women will learn that men can be irresponsible and disregard vital things in relationships in a way that is alien to them. They will also learn that despite how it might seem, there are good, highly masculine men oriented toward a romance who are ready to commit and sacrifice everything for the right feminine influence from a good woman. Masculine dedication and love should not be underestimated or taken for granted by women. Indeed, wise and smart women will never be indifferent to that magical masculine magnetic force that attracts and is attracted to its much-needed femininity. As women, we need to understand that men are very easy to deal with once we can look at them from a detached and realistic angle and try to understand who they truly are and what they truly need from us. Typical masculine men have certain systems and identifiable logic behind every single action, thought, and behavior. These stay quite stable throughout their lives and will not be changed unless something malfunctions. Men like to speak to already tested scientific methods, things they know work. In contrast, typical feminine women make ongoing changes and decisions derived from their highly intuitive nature to better things and fully experience every emotion possible. To men, this often looks like unpredictable chaos. So she's saying the biggest contrast between men and women is that men stay pretty stable throughout their whole lives and women are constantly seeking change and growth and exploration. That's why they seem so strange and chaotic to us, because we don't understand why they're suddenly acting differently than they were before. The burden faced by feminine women is our way of constant questioning and self-criticism, which contributes to our more erratic nature. A woman faces a lifelong social burden of constantly being at the center of attention as an attractive human being. With that comes expectations for who she is supposed to be, how she is supposed to look, and how she is supposed to act. We always feel like we are under surveillance. Everybody's looking at us under the world's largest magnifying glass. We also have a more fearful nature than men. It comes from insecurity and the constant need for protection, which are qualities that are also socially reinforced in most societies. We attempt to fix this by surrounding ourselves with supportive people who give us a sense of security and protection from outside ourselves. If we cannot build that sense of security internally, we start overdeveloping our masculine side instead of feeling free to express our femininity. When a woman brings chaos into a romantic relationship, a state of being the author refers to as the feminine minefield, it's because of how insecure she feels in her relationship or life. She does not know who she is for her partner. A woman needs to feel comfortable and know who she is in this man's life with high security. Otherwise, she can become chaotic. She's looking for her protector. When she doesn't have someone who can protect her emotionally, give direction, or just confirm what's happening, she becomes like a tornado. Women thrive in rest and beauty compared to men who thrive in action and achievement. Men work to become someone attractive to women because they are not born the type of gentleman that every feminine woman dreams about at least once in her life. Men learn to be gentlemen either from observing male mentors or by being motivated by feminine women holding them to such a standard. There should be some type of grand motivation for a man to act and grow into the man he should be. A man being a gentleman means choosing to become full of thoughtfulness, desire, and consideration toward the woman he's most attracted to, in a way he never cared to pay attention to before, by channeling such core masculine qualities as ambition, protection, and leadership. I believe that this is what the author refers to as the type of feminine qualities masculine men allow themselves to develop that are attractive to women. She's referring to, later in the book, I say that even a man who highly identifies as masculine, of which I would include myself, there are certain feminine virtues that we should and tend to naturally develop that come out when it's appropriate. Like I'm very nurturing and caretaking of stray animals and children in a similar kind of way, which I would qualify as largely a feminine quality. And I'm not saying that all in kind of a derogatory way. And I'm also saying that the reason why that can be highly attractive to women is because the rest of me isn't feminine. I don't act like a woman most of the time, but if I have certain feminine virtues that come out when it's really appropriate and necessary, it's showing versatility. It's showing like this man is not stuck just playing one very specific, one very hard role, that he can be masculine most of the time because that's really useful, but when it's appropriate to be feminine, he can't be. And same thing with women. Amir, wouldn't you say you're probably mostly attracted to feminine women, right? Because you are a masculine man, I think. Would you identify yourself as a masculine? But skewed toward the masculine side, right? More masculine than feminine. And so you are probably more attracted to feminine women than you are masculine women, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But wouldn't you also say it's really attractive when a feminine woman can act masculine when she needs to?
Like what? Mean to men?
Like if she, like how Maria was really good at learning to work with tools and machines and building things, which is a stereotypically masculine quality, but Maria was really good at it, right? That's attractive. It's getting for the same reason. It's showing like you're not limited to just being one thing, even if by your nature you are more one thing than another. You can grow, you can evolve, you can adjust to whatever the situation calls for. Right?
Yeah. If from 1 to 10, if I want to give a number, like how much I am attracted to, for example, Maria,
Okay.
just not everybody are attracted.
I hope Maria watches this video.
She's German 60 year. What? When I see her, that when I saw her that she interested in welding and learning and doing something and be independent, it was like if she was, for example, 7 raised to 8, you know?
She at one point more attractive by being good with tools.
Only 10.
You can only go so high. Going from 7 to 8 is a big increase.
50% is something else.
Right. So it wasn't like, putting on makeup or a pretty dress or something, which might be attractive in a different kind of way, which is, of course, what most women would think you need to do to be more attractive to a man, like embellish your feminine qualities, right? But instead you're saying that actually, no, showing your masculine qualities can also be attractive. You know?
When you have makeup for me as a man, a girl, not you. Me?
No.
No, not you. If you have makeup, I feel it. And I think you are not interested in makeup. I don't
But now I kind of want to see you in
But like if I see a girl with makeup in a sexy way, it's like, oh my God, she's so sexy, but I'm not attractive. Yeah, she's sexy, so what?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people are also sexy, but I need some mindset. I need some thing to attractive him to it. maybe. No,
It's
I don't like, I don't, I'm not interested to,
Interested in?
I am not interested in makeup. Maybe just make her more sexy, but so what? But when I see a person independent and do something that I can do, and but nice, something more than a sexy body or something more than a femininity.
So one thing I have noticed about myself is I've almost always been attracted more to women without makeup, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of makeup to like accent the features, but like women who wear tons of makeup to like completely change their appearance, I've always felt like that was very strange. Like it seemed like they're wearing a mask or something. And I also noticed I'm often attracted to women with shaved heads, which I thought was odd. Like, cause I like hair too. Like I love long, beautiful flowing hair, whatever, right? But also, and I realized what it was. And it's because if a woman can still look feminine, even when you remove her most prominent feminine features, it's like showing just how attractive she is, right? Because long flowing hair is one of the most obvious signs of femininity. Women stylize their hair and do all kinds of things with it. So when you remove that element and she still looks really good, like her feminine beauty is still kind of just exploding from every pore in her face, for some reason, that's even more attractive. It's like you've put the game on the hardest difficulty for her and she's still kicking ass at it somehow, instead of making it as easy as possible. We're almost done here. In our very complex and chaotic world, being gentlemanly is often mistaken for spending an unreasonable amount of materialistic fortune in a performative way, which you will see the author criticize several times as an indicator of a performative relationship or pseudo-romance. Spending a lot of money on fancy dates and stuff. However, I see it as a man being confident enough to showcase this very sexy and subtle masculine behavior, which can be materialistic but is not necessarily so. It demonstrates his creativity, intelligence, commitment, and bravery. This is undeniably attractive and heroic to feminine and self-satisfied women. Two people become more emotionally sensitive and attentive as a result of gentlemanly behavior and consequently connected. Since women observe, notice, and feel everything at a more sensitive level, these thoughtful moments initiated by a man cannot go unnoticed. Consistency of gentlemanly behavior will make a woman become more trustful toward a particular man and react favorably to his behavior. So what does she mean by gentlemanly behavior? Essentially being very, very thoughtful and paying attention to lots of little things about her, which can be demonstrated through like taking her on a nice date or something, but it can be lots of other much more subtler and simpler things too. Men are very lazy beings in general. True? Yes?
Yes.
We are. Yes. Guilty. Which makes them oriented toward efficiency of action, particularly if you're an American male. We're very, very lazy, and we find the most efficient way to get things done because we don't want to work hard. They need justification for putting effort into things. Why should I do that? Why? What's the purpose? Me, every day. The women they desire set the standard for coming out of that comfort zone, for setting higher standards and maturing. The author expresses this principle under the heading, Men Can't Live Up to Their Masculine Potential Without Women in Chapter 2 as part of what he considers to be a woman's signature influence on a man. The way I see it, every man is a Lego set that needs to be assembled, rather than the already assembled model that most women expect to meet. A wise woman should learn how to identify the quality of the blocks and whether the set has all the parts needed. It's a good analogy. This is true feminine happiness. The author claims these women want to skip ahead to the finish line instead of playing their important feminine role in a man's masculine development. Indeed, the courtship process is the path to a strong relationship because it allows men and women to build a strong influence on each other and develop together into their potential, meaning men and women need to know how to provide positive emotions outside of the sexual context before feeling comfortable with the physical act of sex. Men seldom realize that sex for a woman happens in the brain before the body. Do the women in the room agree with this assessment?
Unfortunately.
I've never had a woman's body, though I have seen a lot of women's bodies, so I can infer certain things, but I've never had the direct experience. She says men seldom realize that that sex for a woman happens in the brain before the body. It's a moment of rapid dopamine and oxytocin release, which women can get even without physical stimulation. Events such as shopping, having a beauty day, taking care of a child, enjoying dinner or dessert, or simply being complimented by strangers can initiate this dopamine stimulation. Talking with someone they feel they can trust can be like sex to women because of the intimate connection they feel. They can talk, feel heard, and feel safe with a gentleman. Thus, they can share all their thoughts without being judged. As the author details in Chapter 4, The Sexual Burden, feminine comfort comes from knowing what to expect. Knowing what to expect makes her less hesitant to express herself in a sexually dynamic way. Women can start talking to a man and then become detached from this world because of how safe they feel. They don't have to edit their thoughts or words. This is the whole essence of masculine protection on a very profound but non-evident level. Therefore, to get what she wants from a man, a woman needs to be very skilled at communicating her sexual and other needs. Yes, please, women, please communicate your needs. Just say them in words, please. Sexual communication comes after being able to communicate all types of wants and wishes in life, and after having established all ways of communicating with a man. Plenty of relationships collapse because there is no established method of sexual communication. There is no openness. There is no trust because people are afraid of each other's reactions. Women and men need to learn how to give and receive positive emotions to and from each other outside of the sexual context. A woman seeks someone who can listen and understand her, which she perceives as protecting her emotionally. She will do everything to find such a soul in a man, and if she cannot find that in her partner, she will replace him with a psychologist or by having an emotional affair with another man who is open to listening to her. Very often, romantic love is mistaken for that heightened hormonal state of being physically attracted to someone from first sight, which usually sacrifices the opportunity to learn about the person the way they are. It happens in opposite sequences for men and women. Men get attracted by female looks, and then they decide to approach her. Later, they realize she is more than a beautiful object. She has a brain in her head, and maybe they have romantic chemistry beyond the physical. Meanwhile, a woman is initially attracted to the brain of a man, and later she realizes that they also have a physical connection, and lets herself feel sexual lust for him once she is comfortable. Understanding a man, that's true, by the way, isn't it? Isn't that always how it goes, and why men don't understand why women don't want to fuck them? Because for a man, it's as simple as like, well, you look good. Don't you think I look good? Let's fuck. Come on. It's like, no, there's a few more steps in there, actually. Sure.
It depends on the people, I think. It's not...
Well, yes, of course. These are speaking in generalizations here. But in general, there's like a complete mismatch between the initial stages of attraction between men and women.
Yeah, maybe it's more simple in their brain. Is it?
It's for men. Well, I would say that we're much better at compartmentalizing physical attraction. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need to know a single thing about it. I would consider myself much more developed and mature than the vast majority of men, and I actually do want like a deep emotional bond with a woman and all that wonderful stuff. But still, I can look at a woman who looks good naked, and I don't need to know a single thing about her and still say, yeah, I would have sex with her because she looks good. That's enough to have a rewarding sexual experience. She looks good. I'd like to experience her body. Why not? Right? And women, by and large, cannot do that with a man, and frankly, wouldn't even understand why they would want to. Like, they can look at a man who looks good and say, yeah, he looks good, fine. But no, why would you think that means I want to have sex with him just because he looks good? Like, that means almost nothing to them. Understanding a man is the main mission for a woman considering marrying and spending her life with him. Marriage is the highest emotional institution for highly feminine women, requiring absolute levels of commitment, responsibility, and attraction. If she feels that she understands this man and that this man matches her ideals, she can fall in love with him. In fact, it's a lot more work for a woman to find someone she can trust and express herself completely with than men can imagine. That's the goal for a woman. Find someone she can build trust with intellectually, physically, and emotionally in all possible ways. That's where security comes from. I hope my contribution of a more feminine interpretation to the author's highly masculine one provides some balance and validation to the idea that there is a great deal for men to learn about women, women to learn about men, and everyone to learn more about themselves in the pages that follow. Gregory has taken great trouble to detail the masculine experience of intimacy, sex, and love in a way that will speak quite deeply to a certain type of reader, regardless of their gender. It is my ambition to undertake a similar feat in a forthcoming book of my own that explores the essential feminine side of these important topics and more, providing the complementary perspective that his idiosyncratic take is missing. Written by Svetlana Sivak, registered psychotherapist, Toronto, Canada.
Better we know.
It's an interesting view. Well,
Yes, so to me, that is one of the best explicit verbal explanations of what it's like to be a woman I've probably ever heard. Very, very few women in my experience can actually just explain, well, here's what it's like for me as a woman and how it's probably different for you as a man. But even a lot of just simple statements in there would probably like surprise and enlighten men, just thinking, really? Women think about that so differently than men do? Like, what the fuck? I never thought about that. Because no woman has ever told them. So they're just sitting there expecting like women to be the same as men. And they're like, I don't understand why things aren't going the way I expected. No woman can just say, well, actually, it's more like this for us. Okay, so that's all. And then the rest of the book is just me explaining, here's what it's like to be a man. Here's what's so frustrating about women.
I hear these from the girls a lot, that all men want sex. Always you want sex.
Yes, that's true, though. We do.
And
But it doesn't mean it's the only thing we want. But yes, definitely we want that.
but it's the beginning for us.
Yes.
This is the gate for us.
Yes, that's what she's saying here. She's saying the physical attraction for men is the first step that happens.
Yeah.
And the problem is if it just stays there, which is what happens with shallow, like immature men, that they're just obsessed with physical attraction. Oh, she's sexy, she's hot, she's got nice boobs, I want to fuck her and her and her. And instead of just taking that and saying, oh, I'm physically attracted to this person, let's see in what other ways I might also be attracted to her. Like, wow, we get along really well, we bond really deeply on an emotional level, we have all these things in common, and also she looks really good naked and I want to fuck her brains out. Right? Like all those things together.
But to be honest, for me, it's like, and also men, the men that they are my friend actually, not all the men, but they are like, we cannot understand them. What is wrong with them? Why not?
Uh-huh.
Like, girls most of the time saying that you just want sex, but the men don't say that they want what? We are just confused. What is wrong with you? Like, why not? But we don't mention or put a label on the girls like they want just money, or they want just shopping, or they want a lot of things. But the man
I want cheese.
cheese. Okay. I hope it's not expensive. But the man only want things, and for me, it's like, okay, I like you, not love you yet. So let's have sex, because without having sex, I cannot.
Without having sex, we can't feel our emotions. So
Without.
yeah.
Without.
And the beginning of the relationship, we should have sex to know better each other.
I don't know. I think that really depends on people again, because I've seen many girls who can start a relationship with sex and get very offended about it. This is like in my country, but at the same time, there are many people that are comfortable with it. So it's really about how the person feels, and I don't know, their character. I can't divide it really.
Well, and of course, one consequence of men being obsessed with physical attraction is that it then encourages women to focus only on their own physical attractiveness, right? That's why a great majority of young women, it's like their whole personality is just looking cute or beautiful or sexy or whatever, and they're like, that's it. That's my entire existence. That's where I get the phrase beautiful objects from, right? That like men value physical attraction, so that should be the focus of my entire existence, which you can do until you're about 30, maybe 40. And then it's like, well, okay, now what? You're not this cute, beautiful, hyper-fertile, hyper-sexualized object anymore, so what are you? What have you spent your whole life becoming, right?
As a man or woman?
as a woman. No, men don't have that problem because we can be ugly and still get laid. Like that's what's great about being a man, because we have other qualities that women are attracted to in us.
Yeah, actually, sometimes more than you're young.
Yeah.
I don't feel we try to look beautiful for men, really. I mean, it's also like, for me, I felt this a lot, that I should look good or, I don't know, very tidy for the women around me, because men don't really notice so many details.
Well, yeah, a lot of the stuff that women think they're doing that make a difference, like I put my makeup this way, did my hair this way, I wore these earrings. Men don't notice things like that. We just notice, oh, she looks good. Oh, but that also girl, she looks good too. Oh, she looks good too.
These things are just competition between girls.
Yeah. For men, it's basically just like, yes, I'm attracted to you. That's it. Like, that's all I need to know. Like, yes, there are things you can do that make me more attracted to you, but it's not like we notice all the tiny little details of your perfume or whatever. Most of the time, it's just, yeah, she's hot. Yeah, I do her. We're very simple creatures, as Svetlana says. Think of how much more harmony there would be in the world if men and women could just talk openly about their respective experiences, their different approaches to life.
Too much harmony would make the world pretty boring.
Oh, that's such a feminine take to have. You want chaos, you want excitement, you want change.
Yes, chaos is necessary, I think. Isn't? You don't like chaos?
Well, I think the chaos happens on its own. I don't think you need to intentionally induce any more of it. I think it's just part of your nature to just say, let's do something different now. Everything was going fine and you decided, no, we're going to do things differently now. Today I'm feeling this way, so we're going to do it this way.
Won't you get bored if everything is in harmony and perfect and, I don't know, there's no struggle?
No, but part of the harmony is you being able to express your constantly changing dynamic emotional expression in a safe and secure and harmonious way, right? So if men are like the stability, the rock, the unchanging aspect of reality, then women can be more free to be this explosive, fiery, constantly changing thing, because you have the foundation of the unchanging, so you don't do anything too chaotic and destructive, where you're just arbitrarily destroying everything around you because you're bored or something. Every man knows women who have been in that state, and it's terrifying. Women destroy things when they are bored. It's awful. Immature women, I should say. Not
Even the porn.
Yes. Women will cheat on men because they are bored. Like, a man would never do that. He will cheat on a woman because another woman is hot and he's horny, which is still bad, but it's understandable, right? It's very simple, very primitive, very animalistic, and whereas a woman will be like, things are going too well, let's fuck things up now. I think I'm going to make it a requirement that any woman who wants to date me has to read my book first to get my whole paradigm, my worldview of relationships before she agrees to date me. And there will be a test afterward to see if she understood the book.
Yeah, right.
And what are you gonna do to understand them?
They should write a book too, and I will read their book.
The relationship is gonna take a long time.
Good relationships are worth it.
Because there is no book of her expression.
You want to spend a year dating someone just to slowly figure these things out about them? Why not just get them out of the way up front?
No.